2, 1, roll. I have a countdown this time, right? Proper one, Nikki. Just for
It's
you.
fun. It's so good. It makes me feel happy.
It's professional. It's very good.
Okay. So we are going to. So let's just start right off the bat. Welcome to the podcast again. This week we are going to talk about Nightfall, a short story by Isaac Asimov, and let's get to it. So
give us some intro. Why did you choose Nightfall, XJ?
You're the one who told us to read
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's true. I suggested Nightfall, and the reason is very unromantic.
this. Oh.
It's the only short story I remember.
Oh no.
because I don't normally get into short story, and happily, Nightfall is a short story that Isaac Asimov later developed into a long form story, which I read. I did read the novel, and I remembered, oh hey, wasn't there a short story version of Nightfall before he actually developed it into a story? And so that's my contribution as a title to the podcast. So, what do you guys think of the
Well,
story?
I think we should start with telling the good viewers who might have not read it along with us what transpired. Essentially,
It's a good point.
would you like me to do the honors?
No,
or
go
would you
ahead,
like to
go
do
ahead.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, the basic premise of the story is on a very faraway planet where the laws of physics kind of go exactly the same way as they do in our universe. The only difference is that they have more than one sun. In fact, they have 6 suns, and they're called like alpha, beta, delta, so on and so forth. In the longer story, they actually get better like proper names. I think the name of the planet changes from Lathar to something else. I can't remember. But essentially, it's a world that doesn't experience night like we do at all. Like they don't see the night sky. That doesn't happen. It's always bright. And the story happens at a moment where a couple of organizations have figured out the fact that something is about to happen. Something that is actually cyclical, that has been happening for a really long time.
Du, du, du.
Night.
That's
and
awesome,
for us,
Nikki.
that is and the event for us is something that we see every single day. But for these people, for what they're about to witness, it is life-changing. For them, this is the moment of truth. This is the world changing completely, because from a completely clear sky that is always a light, it suddenly will turn dark. And then something unimaginable will appear. Something that makes everybody basically question the reality they have been living. Because for these people, their universe is basically maybe 8, 10, 12 light years of space. That's the way they imagine it. They don't even understand that there could be other suns and stuff. And actually, in the middle of the story itself, one of the scientists proposes a radical idea, which is that there might be other suns and other stars in other places. They don't call them stars, obviously. They call the weird light torches that will appear in the end stars, and they don't know that a star is a sun, right? And the amount of dread, but also sort of like humor at the beginning that Mr. Asimov was able to, or is he Dr. Asimov? I'm not sure. Is he Professor Asimov? No clue. Doctor Asimov.
Late doctor.
Late Dr. Asimov. There you go. Very, very grammatically correct. He puts in a lot of work into this short story, and it's no wonder that afterwards he decided to write a full novel about it, because it is a very novel idea that he proposes in this. The stark reality that this civilization is about to face. The grand opening of the curtains, quite literally, in the open sky, changing everything that they ever knew.
Yeah.
That's the story of Nightfall.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just have a small correction. It's not they didn't experience night as much as it had an eclipse. It was
They've never seen the stars.
Yeah, so it wasn't nightfall for them. It was just an eclipse for about 3 hours.
Yeah. I was gonna
That's
say
true.
That,
Yeah,
They
they
have
should have
not
called
got
it
the moon.
eclipse fall.
yeah.
Are you sure? Because isn't the whole
Yes.
point that they
No,
haven't
he's
seen
right.
night?
Yes,
They haven't-
seen night. Yeah, but the reason they haven't seen night is because there's usually there are so many suns in this.
But that's exactly what I said. So where am I wrong?
Because it's an eclipse, it's not a setting sun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
not a
it's,
setting
like
sun,
for them,
it's
it's okay. Like they don't understand that. For them, it's night. What are you talking about? Like these? What is this like? Roll on pedantic?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it helps the drama, I think.
I'm out. Yeah.
It helps the drama that the sun is still high in the sky.
No, Rob.
and then
Rob
there's-
is trying to say
yeah,
something. What is it, Rob?
They
Go, Rob.
It helps the drama because they see the sun high in the sky, and this helps them some of them not to believe that anything like nightfall is going to happen. And then they start seeing a bit being eaten out of the side of the sun by this very large moon
Right.
that's in front of it.
I think.
Yeah.
I think if I remember from the novel, it's like the orbit that the planet takes would never have a situation where it turns around and then there's nothing. So the only way it could have gotten like a global darkness is an eclipse. But that's also interesting because the other side of where the eclipse is happening would presumably have brightness.
Yeah, but it gets to everybody eventually because they said that,
Yeah.
right? So at some point, everybody on the
Yeah.
planet experiences it.
But most
Yeah.
of that is I think most of that is described in the long form, the novelization of it, and not really the short story. It didn't really get to that.
We can talk about the novelization later. Let's stick to the
Yeah,
short
let's stick
story.
to the short story. So, what do you guys think about the short story?
It's the third time you've asked. What do you think?
Me?
XJ?
But I want
Yeah,
to know what
do
you
think?
guys think.
Yeah.
I'm like,
No, but you're the one who chose it, so
okay, fine. So for me, this is a gold standard for a science fiction story. And the reason I say that is because everything hangs together, everything makes sense. As we have discovered lately, the brass tacks matter a lot to me.
I don't think you're quite right there, actually, XJ.
Really?
No,
Tell me.
I can tell you two things that don't make sense.
Wait. There's some.
there's some sort
Hold
of a
on.
noise.
Yeah, that's my dog. I'll put myself on mute while you guys talk.
Okay.
We just see Kaz take a shotgun and just be like,
No, two things that don't make
Yeah.
sense.
Go for it.
Perhaps they're minor inconsistencies. They don't matter a lot, but one is the idea that if you're in the middle of a giant cluster of 30,000 bright stars, you're going to experience anything like night when there's an eclipse of, it wouldn't happen. 30,000 bright central cluster stars are going to make something pretty bright, I should think, in the sky. It's not going to be scary darkness. But I mean, that's just, there's not a serious criticism. It doesn't spoil the mood of the story, but that's logic, I think. And the other thing is a very minor point, which is, I think he gets the number of suns a bit wrong. He says there's 6 suns, and then he sort of talks as though there are 7. Now, I mean, I could prove that from the text, but it doesn't matter. It's just that if you're going to nitpick, then there's scope for nitpicking. But it's a great story, and it's the moody idea of waiting for night and half believing and half not believing that it's going to happen that's really tremendously skillfully done, and it's much more colourful than most Asimov stories.
Oh. Okay. Cool. What about you, Nikki?
Well, although Isaac Asimov went to America when he was 3, from the best country in the world, he still seems to me like, although perhaps he was raised in the States, his soul is ours, because the psychologist, as soon as he gets the moment to, he asks for drinks, and when he's not given one, he finds one. So obviously, this is a Russian planet. That's for sure. That's I just feel it. I understood it as soon as I read that passage. I realized that this man was speaking to me personally.
All your souls belong to us.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. We don't welcome you, so unless you have a drink. So
I know what to do to make myself comfortable in a Russian home now. Hey.
well, as long as it's drinkable. So the more serious point to the story, I found it very enlightening, the way Asimov looked over at the points he was trying to make, the overall feeling. But what's interesting to me is, for example, the last story that we read, A Martian Odyssey, had a very poignant feeling of actual scientific facts of the time trying to be inserted into the story, even though they they ended up being wrong, does not rob it of its of that desire. And Isaac Asimov does the same thing by inserting these ideas that there could be a planet which doesn't in any way, shape, or form have a point where there is no sun in the orbit, and therefore there is always light. But at the same time, when the time comes to sort of like explain any of it in a larger step, in a larger motion, we have the psychologist character who basically pushes that idea away and says, well, Aton, this dude, he'd give you hundreds of numbers and hundreds of information, but you don't need any of it. I'll just tell you the layman's point. So, and for me, that's I think the only part of the story where I was like, well, that's a pretty what did they call it? An easy way out, isn't it? You could have written a bit more there. I think, especially with Aton being so fervent in his belief, he desires that people understand him and believe him. So him staying silent and actually not talking about the scientific reasoning of how and why this is happening is mysterious to me. And the only conclusion I come up with is that Dr. Asimov didn't want to bother with it, which is okay. Right, but that's sort of like what I was expecting, I guess. I think that's probably one of the only criticisms I have for the story. Otherwise, it's very solidly written. The cultist is crazy yet noble, which I found quite interesting. The idea that he has given his word, now he's not going to do anything, so he's going to hesitate. But then he's like, but I'm a cultist, and we need like a villain, so I am going to like rush this dude. Only to be sort of like sucker punched like a couple of seconds later. So, that was a fun scene. The time when they explored the characters and trying to understand this journalist who's here for the truth, who doesn't take the situation seriously until he starts seeing all the signs of it being actually correct, a correct theory, and then he still stays because he needs to finish. He needs to tell the story. He needs to take care of his actual job, which I find a very interesting and a good quality for your protagonist. They stick with what is given to them. They stick with their principles. So I really liked him. I think he was a good protagonist because he was also clueless, which was also believable. So although he wrote like many articles about these people, he knows nothing. Sounds like a journalist to me. It was pretty...
Shots fired.
authentic. Anyway, overall, if when I think about the story, I think of all the little details that make it great, but also I have this desire to, if I could, maybe change a couple of things to make it even better. But maybe that's why I need to read the book, because I've heard that it's one of those books that instead of focusing on the fact that there is an event that we're going to and then it ends on the event or like shortly after the event, it seems that the structure of the story, as far as I've heard, and please correct me if I'm wrong, XJ, is that it starts before the event, does the event, and then after the event is complete, it also goes on to see the ramifications of the Nightfall that have
Indeed,
occurred.
that's what happened in the novel.
Okay, yeah, so that perhaps it will be an enjoyable read for me because I want to know what happened afterwards. And there's not many stories that do that, that take you through a really life-changing thing for a place, especially a planet, and then let you also live through that event afterwards. Not wait for the sequel, and read it in the new book, but actually experience the entire journey in one single book. That's very interesting to me.
Cool. And Cass, how unimpressed are you by the story?
Yeah, I was pretty unimpressed by the story until I thought about it a little bit more, because I was thinking, okay, let's see, how are six suns supposed to appear in the sky with this planet? And I've seen visualizations, for example, what our sun looks like from Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is not that far away, right? Okay. And yet it just appears as a bright star. So to say that they had no night,
Rob
so to say that they
Rob is
had,
shaking
oh,
your
Rob doesn't like that. Yes, go, Rob.
It's just that I've heard that even from Pluto, the sun is still as bright as 250 full moons. It's way brighter than any star could be.
It is brighter than any star could be, but it doesn't obliterate the other stars in the sky.
No, but
It does when it's
about this planet called Lagash. It revolves around just one of these six suns. The other six suns are in a group, but it's that the planet only goes around one of them. It doesn't actually go around all six.
Because I was trying to sort of figure out, the kind of the orbital for this one. So that one probably I went off on a tangent, on that one. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yes.
No, but
Did like the
that's
pun,
but that's actually something that I have been I was picturing in my mind too when I was reading the story. Like I was actually plotting the orbital route that the planet took as well. So I don't think that's completely off tangent.
So anyway, and then as I started to think about it after I read it, I started to like it more and more. And I kept coming back to it. And I thought, actually, that's pretty interesting story. So this is a case where I changed my mind on the story, right? But Asimov still suffers from Asimov. I mean, he never writes fully rounded characters. All of his characters are pretty cardboardy with lots of admonishments and belligerent this and ejaculate that and, admonish this and, and it's sort of all
But
gets a
they're
little bit
scientists, so it makes sense. They're boring.
tiresome after a while. But again, it was the sign of the times. All of the writers around that era wrote like that. Yes. So, it's just the style that it was back then. Okay. I don't know that I would read his novel because, like I said, he falls down in terms of fully realized characters. There isn't that emotional depth that I look for in characters. Right? It's kind of all, to me, just a little bit on the surface. And he's got this particular liking for psychologists. He loves psychologists, right? Even the Foundation series, for example.
Yes.
And of course, the iRobot series and all of his other series. There are a lot. I mean, psychologists appear prominently in the roles. So there's definitely, that's one of his things. It's like Stephen King setting everything in Maine. But I will say that I did a turnaround on the story and I liked it.
All right. So what I've actually been hearing from all three of you, like the common thread is that the characters aren't very interesting, and although the setting itself is pretty interesting, there's not enough drama to make it exciting for you guys.
I didn't say that at all.
Okay.
No,
No, that's true.
I
Nikki
said
didn't
I
say
like
that.
I said I like the journalist and
Okay.
the drunk's psychologist. I think they're great. Both of them are amazing characters. They have nothing going for them, but they're pretty good archetypes. Yeah, they're not people. All right. I think Kaz has the right of it. They are
cardboard,
pieces
they're
on a board.
mouthpieces. Yeah.
Yeah, they're mouthpieces. They're pieces on the board. But what Asimov does with them is what's important here, right? So, I think you have to have the expectation when you read his work that you're not going to be in love with, the protagonist or the antagonist or whoever else is within the book. What you should expect is a very elaborate story unraveling in front of you. And if that is not something that you can just immerse yourself and enjoy, and you need a powerful lead, or at least a set of characters who can hold it all together, then you will struggle through most of his work. I agree with that. But because of the length of the story, I think it's permissible. And what Cass said, now thinking back on it, I still want to read the novel Nightfall. Like, I will still submit myself to this task. However, because who knows, it will be good or bad. It will definitely be, something that I'll have to do. But regardless whether I'll enjoy it or not, the point stands that I'm not expecting that he's going to have interesting dialogue and emotional significant flowers that will like blossom. Nuance. Yeah, that's right. Significant flowers is a much more romantic way of looking at
it is
at that word, but yes.
But I feel as if you have something you wanted to cut in, Rob. What do you have anything?
I'm just going to turn the light on because it's getting a bit dark here.
It's true. But the mood in your room, the mood in the room is fantastic though. All you need is a torchlight underneath you, and then that would be like a complete campfire thing.
I was just thinking that. We're a campfire vibe. Yes, exactly.
Let's return to my favorite point, campfire stories. Please go on, bro.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that maybe this cycle will be different from the rest in the history of Lagash, in that they do have this hideout. They're reasonably well organized. So maybe something more will survive the catastrophe this time. I just get the feeling.
I have the feeling that there's at least two, like, let's say, assortment of people on the planet that will survive this current eclipse, this current nightfall, and it's the observatory survivors in the hideout, and I think the cult sounds like they know what the hell's going on, like they've been getting ready for this, so maybe they are even in charge of some of the commotion to make sure that they're the only people standing. I'm not, I can't speculate because I don't really know, but the hunch I'm getting from the way the story was framed is like the cult knew even more than the scientists. They gave them breadcrumbs, and the reason they gave them breadcrumbs is because they didn't really want them to find out or alert people before the time came. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. I feel like they're the supposed villains of the situation.
The noble lie, right? This is where you lie about it, but you lie about it. I'm lying to you, but it's for your own good.
Possibly.
Right.
I don't remember the conclusion of the novel enough to answer any particular question, but I want to explain why this short story is gold standard for me. And that is because everything is internally consistent. As I have many times said, I am not a particularly character-driven person. So characterizations, as long as they meet a certain standard, I'm okay. What is more important to me is the that everything in the story kind of links and makes sense, and this story does. And this is a very I think 70s 80s view of science fiction, which is to take one what if or one technological advance and then expand it to see what the how it will influence society from that technology. And this one what if, which is that what if there's a civilization that had never seen darkness before, experiences it, is that is the basic premise, and he totally expanded on that. And he
the short story actually dates back to 1941. That's
41.
the
I'm
issue,
sorry.
yeah, in which I read it. I mean, this is, in fact, if anything, it makes it even better, even more impressive.
Right. Sorry, it's not 70s and 80s then. So yeah, this is in along the this is the kind of short story that is I would say is more world building than it is a short story. But that matters to me a lot because like the internally everything has to be consistent and it needs to flow together. And so like there is one point which Asimov addressed really brilliantly that could just render his entire story like just derelict, like it's nonsense. And that is the existence of electric lights. If you have electric lights, nothing like the kind of psychological breakdown this civilization experience would even matter. And they are at a civilizational peak where they can have electric lights because they have camera.
I thought about that. But then what I thought was that actually Asimov was describing a more sort of internal existential thing rather than an external physical thing. Yes, because I thought when you close your eyes, there it is. There's dark, right? And they are supposed to be human. Okay. So I thought, well, when I first read it, I thought, well, it's a bit ridiculous, because if they had this, if they had that, then, then what the hell is going on?
They should have like psychic words, words for like blind people for that universe in that case, because they go all insane, right? If you propose it the way it is. But yeah, I agree. It's more psychological.
Because it's the actual fact that they didn't think there were just 6 stars in their universe. Now suddenly they are seeing 30,000 stars in their universe, and they realize that they're not special. Yeah, I thought maybe that's what Asimov was going for.
Well,
right.
So actually
develop that point, but
actually
right.
He did address that point, but he didn't really make a big deal out of it.
Right.
So here's the thing. If you're a civilization that never has darkness, you wouldn't need electric lights. You would never bother to invent it. And it was hinted at. It was hinted at when the people brought out candles. And it was an amazing invention. It was an amazing invention that their university students did. Candles. And that gives all of these loopholes are plugged. Like there will of course there will never be a watertight story. There's always going to be some holes somewhere, but big things like this needs to be plugged, and in the case of this particular story, it did also get plugged, which to me would make everything sensible. But
It is
it's
certainly a clever twist that they don't have lights. I agree that they don't need it. You're right.
yeah. If
But then, how do they mine? How do they get metals that they're going to use in
so,
order to make these big telescopes
those are
and all
great
that kind of
stories.
stuff?
Those are great
You know?
questions that I wish Asimov had addressed as well. Yeah.
He just sits down just for XJ, just like little footnote.
Yeah.
Anyway, XJ,
Totally.
so
let me
put
let me put him in a room, and then I can grill him. No.
He was actually a very fascinating person to talk to. I watched a couple of his interviews after I read Nightfall, just to get a feeling of who the man was.
I like that you would go to this extra mile to
Yes.
Yeah, but only to brag about it on the podcast.
Okay. Well, whatever your motivations is.
Yeah. It was good. Yeah, it was good.
I like cyclical stories. I think there aren't many of them. I can only think of one other example, a big example, Brian Aldiss' Heliconia trilogy.
Oh,
about,
yeah.
A planet that has very, very, very long seasons because it goes around one star, but that system goes around another star, and it affects the length, the temperature. And 1825 years is the great year from one great winter to another, and the civilizations rise and fall accordingly. Makes me think a bit about that.
Yeah, 2,000 years is a pretty grand time, and that's about the same time that a Lagash experiences the
2050 years.
the eclipse too.
So what level would you say that they were at in that case? Because we're getting this, it's sort of it, the technology usage kind of hops around a little bit in this story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So if you had to sort of say, oh, I think that Lagash was this, right? This era. Which era do you guys think you would put it?
1940s Earth. Sorry, go on.
They'd have electricity then, you see. It would have to be.
But weren't they
17th
using some sort of like computers? That's what I at least imagined when they were like.
They were at
Weren't
least
they
using
using something?
cameras.
Yeah, they definitely used cameras, but I thought they were sitting at panels too. Maybe that's just my imagination that was playing on me. I don't remember the word panel or computer or something like that being written, but yeah, they were definitely using cameras.
Yeah, cameras. Yeah, only plate cameras, nothing electronic or anything.
So maybe 1800s then.
Yeah, something along those lines. I think that was my feeling too. There was also another clue to that. I think the protagonist, what's his name, Theoronimus.
I just remember him as the journalist because
The journalist
as soon as he gave humans numbers, I was like, I'm not.
Right.
Yeah, that's also interesting. Yeah, his sister lives on another part of the world, which is like a 6,000 mile journey, which would be a plane flight for the modern person, but apparently is an odyssey for them. So could be still in the ship sailing era.
Well, didn't one of the scientists say to the journalist, being like, "Well, wouldn't you rather be with them? Like it would be possible to get to them quickly, because it was like 15 minutes before the eclipse."
Well,
Sorry,
he
Rob?
didn't know then. He didn't know about where his sister was when he asked that question.
I can't remember whether he did or not, so I will stay silent.
No.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I do get the sense that it is maybe in the early 1900s, something like that. Yeah.
Some of
Anyway.
it's a bit arbitrary on Earth. On Earth, I mean, you only got railways in the 19th century, but I don't think there was anything that need have prevented them being in the 18th century, for example. It's just they didn't get round to it. So they needn't copy our pattern of development exactly.
That's true too. And I think one of the best example is they don't have anything approaching to candles even, or a lantern or lamp, up until the moment of truth for them. Yeah.
It was an interesting attitude towards religion as well, because I know that Asimov doesn't, because I knew he was very much an atheist. And, it was this, the mobs are coming because they're a religious mob and there's fire and they're heading towards the observatory at the end, So there's this little bit of a torch and pitchfork moment in there that he puts in. Yeah. So, and I sort of, okay, and of course he uses actually quite a bit of biblical language in the short story as well, which I found quite interesting considering his own personal proclivities.
I was surprised that he called it the Book of Revelation. Go on, sorry, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
He was interested in the Bible. He wasn't religious himself, but he was interested in the Bible as literature.
As a good read, yeah.
Yeah.
Or not.
Well,
but why would he? I don't know. I don't know why. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, it feels like in that era, a lot of scientists have this have this notion in their head that religion is in the end about pitchforks and burning torches.
I kind of got that underlying theme.
It's a very looking down on people who are religious kind of attitude, which
and it's kind of like, here we go again because of the mob with the pitchforks and the torches, right? And we're going to go through this again. And I was wondering whether I had read too much into it, but that was certainly my impression when I was reading it.
Yeah, that
Arthur C. Clarke attitude that the Arthur C. Clarke and Isaac Asimov are the same in that they had no notion of transcendence, no idea of transcendence.
Indeed.
So but that is to say at a conscious intellectual level, but at an artistic level, they're right, especially Clarke, their writings could be full of qualitative, poetic insights, but it didn't actually reach the brain. It was just the heart, as it were, was in the right place, but the brain couldn't handle it.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't mean to say that, with the Bible, what I mean is that it's sort of full of violence and murder and genocide, and it's quite a fair chunks of it are not very good reads from that point of view. I think if you had to give it a rating, you'd probably give it an 18 plus, really. If it was, if you were true to the book and you televised it and made a movie out of it.
Are you referring to the Bible, or are you referring to the short story?
Oh, actually, here I'm referring to the Bible, but
okay, yeah.
Because because of the biblical references that Asimov and Clarke tend to bring to some of their writings.
I absolutely agree that the Bible should have a 18 plus rating.
Yeah. Well, there's some interesting stuff in there.
So I actually thought that it was kind of weird that he called the book the Book of Revelations, because it really has nothing to do with Revelations, the proper book. So I didn't really get it as commentary. I just came out strange to me. But the other commentary on religion was very pronounced.
Yeah, I just skipped over that too. I thought Book of Revelation, okay, whatever, and then just moved on.
Well, I mean,
but yeah, you're right.
I get the feeling that he was basically copying like a chunk of how a biblical text would have gone, and then just sort of reworded it to reflect the darkness. So that might have something to do with how, because when I was reading it, I was like, oh wow, he really got the sense of it. And then as I read further, I was like, this looks more like a gifted student copying somebody else's work kind of vibe.
Okay.
I mean, the book of Revelations in the Bible is about the apocalypse. It is, like, it is apocalyptic. So I guess maybe that's what he was trying to do.
Maybe.
To make it feel more akin to Earth by also connecting the name. But then, and I guess it is Revelations that they are referring to. It is the way the world works. It is the cyclical nature of the world that is revealed in the book of Revelation. So okay, right? So if you really think about it, okay, it makes some sort of sense. But at the same time, I don't know. It doesn't really strike me as something that he said something crazy about it. Sorry, go on, Rob.
He was just snatching things like, a bit of a magpie sort of to make its nest. Like Lagash, the name of the world, is taken from Sumeria in our world, and
That's right.
Alpha, Beta, for the sons, obviously Greek alphabet. But you're meant to translate these things in your mind, just like the dialogue is in English in the story. But of course, these people wouldn't speak English. It's fair enough. It's just you're just seeing everything transposed into another mode, but using building blocks from our culture in a creative way.
If this wasn't written in 1941, I might have said something about, some sort of like overtuned metaphors of nuclear, of the nuclear future or something going on there. But I don't think that was something on the mind at all at that time because, nuclear energy wasn't really well known at all. So,
I think it's pure creativity, that story.
Yeah, he was definitely ahead of the curve, on that one, especially considering when he wrote it. Exactly.
All right. Well, I guess we're coming to a close of a show. Seems like a nice place to end. Do we have any last words on the story?
It was a good story. I wouldn't call it the gold standard, but I would call it a good story, XJ.
No, because the gold standard is a Martian Odyssey, obviously.
Well, oczywiście, yeah.
I found it better than I'd expected, actually, when I reread it. I thought, blimey, I've read
Yes.
this so many times, but I still enjoyed it when I reread it.
There was a desire in me to analyze it in a different light, to try and view it from the way Kaz interpreted it, from the character's point of view and so on and so forth. But I found ultimately that was a fruitless endeavor because there were no characters. Otherwise, a fantastic story. And I think if someone sat down and made characters in it, it would have been even better. But
right. Okay.
It doesn't need them. It doesn't need them to be a good story. That is what I will say.
Okay, so the verdict is great setting, lousy characters. Am I right?
That's right. Fix it.
It might have been worse. If good characters would have made it worse.
Good concepts, and great setting, non-existent characters.
Who needs characters anyway?
Yeah, who needs characters?
Yeah,
in science fiction,
exactly.
who needs? You've got spaceships.
That's my point, right? You've got robots, you've got monsters. Why do you need people?
You're right. Dialogue could just be the thing I did when we tested out the sound for the podcast, right?
Yeah,
101
101.
01001. He said protestedly. 110007.
Totally. Yeah.
7.
One day we will get a science fiction story written in that way, and that would be great.
Someone stop these people.
Yeah, no. No, it was bad enough reading Fearsome Engine by Banks, when he had the vernacular segments there where one protagonist was talking and it was all phonetic, but it was English phonetic with a Scottish accent. Oh my God, my brain almost exploded. So
that is a good point. It's one thing to have an invented language, but quite another to to then strewn it throughout the book and then make your readers work all that extra.
Force your readers to read it.
Yeah.
I think next on the docket we have Beyond the Black River by Robert E. Howard, another Conan the Barbarian story.
That will be my first.
That's Nikki's gold standard.
Any Robert E. Howard story.
I have never read a Conan. I've never read a Conan story.
Oh, never?
Ever.
Oh.
Ever. Oh, I know. I can see these three shocked expressions staring back at
I'm just angry.
Only two shocked expressions. I'm more like, oh wow, here's a chance to expand Kaz's perspective.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Think of the positive. Think of the positive, Nikki. Don't think of the negative. Yeah. Yes, that's true. Sorry.
We only have negative.
Is that
so? I'm looking forward to reading it.
What were you saying, actually?
Is that really the how Russians are like? I don't get that sense at all. So I was about to ask Kaz because you live in was it
Poland?
Poland.
All right, be very careful with the next set of words that you say.
The Poles, the Russians, the Czechs, they're all Slavs, okay? So there is that commonality to do with that. However, nobody can plumb the depths of the human soul the way that Russians do. And I will say that. The Poles tend to be a little bit more writer and romantic. The Czechs tend to be more blackly funny. But if you want to scrape the depths of a soul, to go down and immerse yourself in the worst filth and depravity and yet find something beautiful about it, that takes a Russian.
Oh, wow.
The world is dead, and it was dead when we were born. We're just seeing it happening in front of us.
Okay.
So you would agree with that, wouldn't you, Nikki? Yeah.
Yeah, but I find it interesting that actually asked for your opinion, even though you don't live in Russia, but you live in Poland. Somehow, in any way, shape, or form, that could be in any ways, any relationship. But I just found that interesting.
Consider it an offensive oversight on my part.
That's right. So anyway, as you lived in Singapore, you could probably tell me all about North Korea. I'm sure.
I could tell you that Singaporeans are scared little rabbits.
That's also true. That's also true.
Oh, what have I started? No. The Roll Off a Tangent podcast does not in any way, shape, or form hold any of these views. In fact, we love everyone.
Yes, it does.
Cut us off, XJ. I can't save this one.
Okay. Okay, so the boss has told me to cut the recording and I will.
Just when it started to get enjoyable, okay? So you can imagine people, when this is finished, right? We go on, oh my God, we slander everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so for real, if you enjoyed the podcast, do whatever. The usual stuff.
Leave a comment, a like, and
subscribe.
Don't forget to check out next week when we, see the perfection gold standard that is Robert E. Howard.
Okay. Powerful words, and we will see how Cass reacts.
Yes, exactly. Very first time. A Conan virgin. We'll see.
All right.
Wait, hold on. Rob, do you have anything you wanted to say about Nightfall before we stop?
Conan virgins?
No.
Good. All right. Just wanted to make sure.
A very wise man, I feel, Rob is. Okay. That's it. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.